everybody, and welcome to Pilates for Bone and Joint Health. My name is Lauren Syed, and we're broadcasting from Young's Physical Therapy and Sports Performance. Welcome to class. This class again is going to focus on, this is a great class, I should say, for participants or individuals with osteoporosis, osteopenia, any sort of maybe spinal issues to speak of, any past joint replacements. This is a great one to focus again on postural alignment and maybe some of our functional daily activities, performing them safely. So enjoy. If I prompt you to do anything that doesn't quite agree with your body, I encourage you to explore movement, but not to push into any sort of pain. So I'll trust you to make adjustments and modifications as needed, and thank you again for joining us. We're going to go ahead and start on our backs today. Our knees are bent, feet are set up flat on the mat, and the body is resting with gravity. So we'll take a few moments to settle into our breath, taking a breath in through your nose, and breath can come out through the mouth. Our image here with our breath is going to be an umbrella. So imagine as you breathe in that your rib cage, like an umbrella, can open up 360 degrees in diameter. With your breath out, still keep the space and length and openness through the body, but try to release any tension that you don't need, or any gripping or holding of the body. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Take this time as you're breathing to do kind of a scan through the body. Notice, can you let the full weight of the head rest on the mat? Little to no tension between the ear and the jaw. If you need a little something under the head so you don't feel like there's a lot of tension in the neck, this is a great place to have maybe just a little hand towel. Next, if we work our way down to, again, that rib cage that we just brought attention to, can we allow the ribs just to rest nice and open on the mat? As we move down to the pelvis, can you note that with the pelvis we're not gripping, we're not tucking or pushing, but we're allowing the bones of the hips and the pelvis to land and settle on the mat. Now we're going to move down to the feet this morning, and I'm going to ask you, in today's class, whatever time you may be choosing to watch it, I'm going to ask you to start by simply tapping the feet. And what this is doing is just stimulating the bones of the feet and just kind of getting some movement going. So we're literally tapping the feet. Now, if you've got a song in mind that you'd like to tap to, definitely go with that beat. I'm going to go with row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. So we're just tapping those feet, getting some stimulation to the bones of the feet. Definitely if we're dealing with osteoporosis, osteopenia, stimulation and weight bearing to the bones are important, as well as strengthening and loading the joints, both with exercise such as Pilates, but also with maybe resistance bands or even some free weights. Last little chorus maybe here. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. So allow the feet to rest. From here, I'm going to ask you the full length of the arm to gently press down into the mat. What I'm trying to do is activate the full chain of the arm all the way through the fingertips, and then release as you press back and down into the mat. The thought is I'm not lifting my ribs up, but I'm trying to open across the chest. I'm going to try to open across the upper back, and again try to warm up and stimulate the back musculature, or the musculature of the back of the arms. Releasing if you haven't. Press down through the entire chain of the arm, and then release. We'll do that one more time before adding on. Press down through the back of the arms and release. Now from here, Make sure those feet, once again, that we've been tapping, kind of already brought some attention to, draw them back towards your hips or your glutes, your tush, just a little bit, to where you've got a nice full knee bend, but I'm not scrunched or tense through the body. We're going to put the two pieces together, press down through the feet, press down through the arms. We're going to lift the hips in a hinge-like motion. So I'm trying to keep my ribs, my pelvis in one piece, and then I hinge to come down. Different from kind of an articulating bridge, which we played with in our class earlier in the week on Monday. Exhale, press down through the feet, press down through the arms, float the hips up. So my hip crease is open, and then I think about folding deeply at the hips to come back down. We're going to move through 4 more. Exhale, arms, feet, hips lift. Inhale and rest down. So I'm going to clarify that breathing pattern. Exhale to lift, inhale to hold, and exhale to lower down. We'll move through 2 more. Exhale to lift, inhale to hold, and exhale to lower back down. Once more. Exhale to lift, inhale to hold, and exhale to lower back down. From here, I'm going to actively reach my arms straight up towards the ceiling. My fingertips are facing one another. I'm going to ask you to reach your fingers and your arms up towards the ceiling. Notice how my shoulders have come off the mat, but my head and my neck stay relaxed. And then I'm going to release the arms back down. So imagine someone pulling your fingertips up towards the ceiling, and then they're releasing the arms back and down into the mat. Inhale to reach, trying to move through the shoulder joint, through those shoulder blades. Exhale to release. Once more, inhale, reach, and exhale, melt the shoulder joints down. Collarbones open, upper back broad. We inhale and reach the arms out to a T position. I'm going to hover my arms just right about shoulder height, right out from the collarbones. Feeling a good stretch coming across the chest and the shoulders. Exhale, bring the arms back over. Inhale, we reach from fingertip to fingertip, open across the chest. Exhale, back over the shoulders. 2 more. We inhale to reach. We exhale, drawing back in. This time we open up, we hold, we hover, really opening up, and then resting the hands down on the mat. We're going to walk our feet wide to either edge of our mat. And then from here, we're going to let both legs tip to the left. Now my goal here is that I've kept my pelvis pretty much resting, kind of anchored like my paperweight on the mat. And then I'm going to bring the legs back to the center, and I'm going to tip to the other side. Same rules apply. What we're looking at here is, rather than twisting the spine, we're working on the rotation in the hip joint. Hip internal rotation and external rotation. If you feel like there's a side that just needs a little bit more time, a little bit more kind of opportunity to stretch out, definitely feel free. Stick with that side for a couple extra breaths. But we're going to even out with about 4 more. Here's 3. Here's 2. And here's 1. Coming back to the center, I'm walking my feet together, just a few inches apart. I'm going to keep my arms in this nice open T position. And what I'm going to ask of you is to take the leg closest, or I should say, I'm closest to you. I'm going to allow that leg to open out to the side. My goal here, once again, is that my pelvis remains level. And then I'm going to bring that leg back in. I inhale and allow the leg to open out. I exhale and draw back in, all while trying to stabilize, keeping the rib cage and the pelvis in a nice, congruent line. Once more here. Inhale, open. exhale back in. Let's go with the leg farthest away from one another. Inhale and exhale. You may notice that one side is a little easier or a little smoother than the other. We want to try to find as much symmetry as possible. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Once more here. Inhale, open. And exhale to close. Now from here, it's both legs. I'm going to actively reach my knees away from one another to either side of the room. Doesn't matter how far to the floor I get or close to the floor I get. I want to reach open and then exhale, draw to close. Try to alleviate, or I should say release, any tension that we don't need in the neck and the shoulders. Inhaling to open. Exhaling to close. Two more. Inhaling to open. Exhaling to close. Once more. Inhaling to open. And exhaling to close. From here, I'm going to ask you to bring the arms back up. We're going to begin to reach our arms back towards the wall behind us. And the goal here is, can I find the range of motion in the shoulders while still maintaining the ribs on the mat? So I do not want to let my ribs pop off just to get my arms down. So I want to smooth out the ribs in line with the pelvis and bring the arms back over. We want to inhale, reach the arms back, maintaining the alignment of the trunk. Exhaling to bring the arms back over. Think about this. Every time you reach up in the cupboard to get something on a shelf higher than your head or higher than your shoulders, can you maintain a good, stable spine while moving freely in the arms or getting the range of motion that you need to reach overhead? We'll do one more here. Inhaling and exhaling. We're going to keep the arms over the shoulder joints. I'm going to ask you to lift that leg again that's closest to me or closest to the camera. Bring it up to what we call a 90-90. It's just a little bit beyond a 90-degree crease at the hip, and then your knee is at a 90-degree angle, so the lower leg's parallel to the floor. We're going to inhale and tap the foot down. We're going to exhale and just fold at the crease of the hip. The goal here again is, may I maintain all the points of the trunk that we've talked about while moving freely in the hip joint and not adding a lot of tension to the body. So continue to breathe as naturally as you can. We're going to go ahead and switch this out. So this leg stays down, leg farthest away from the camera, lifts and lowers, and lift and lower. Notice again if sides are different. Know that this is a great place to work, or you can hold that leg up at the 90-90, and then with your exhale, maybe lift the other leg to 90-90, holding here. Now I'm going to ask you to draw the knees a little closer together. Make sure you've got that good, again, just deep hip crease. Now can you be here while maintaining ribs, pelvis resting on the mat? Can you have a sense that the tummy muscles, the abdominal wall is falling back towards the mat versus popping up towards the ceiling? We're going to take two more breaths here. Inhaling, still expanding through the ribs. Exhaling. One more here. Inhaling and exhaling. Float the leg farthest away from me, down to the mat. I'm going to ask you to extend the alternate leg, or the leg that's closest towards the camera or the monitor that you're watching. Now, my arms are going back out to that nice open T position. If this is pretty tough because of the hamstrings, if I can't keep the leg right over my hip, I may need to bend my knee a little bit so I can really maintain the pelvis down and take a little stress off of the hamstrings. So from here, my foot is flexed, so I'm pulling those toes or activating the ankle. From here, we're going to move into a single leg circle. So I'm going to circle this leg across towards the midline and down and around. I do want to cross the midline and down and around. I'm going to breathe in for a circle, breathe out for a circle. I'm doing one more, breathing in, pause on the exhale, and then reverse your circles. Take the leg away from your belly button and down and around. Exhaling and inhaling. Exhaling and inhaling. And pause. Bend the knee, float the foot down, and then float the other leg up. Extend at the knee, flex at the ankle. Notice the hamstrings. Allow them to open up a little bit, to lengthen a little bit, but if we need to, we can always bend the knee to really let that pelvis settle and land. The goal again is that our head, our shoulders, our hips can rest on the mat in a stable or still position as we move freely in the hip joint. So let's go inhale, exhale, towards the belly button, down and around. Exhale, inhale, reverse your circles. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more breath. In, pause the leg, exhale, and then let's float that leg back to your 90-90 or your tabletop position. From here, I'm going to ask you to exhale and lift the other leg back up to that 90-90 or that tabletop position. From here, we're going to bring the arms up. We're going to allow the arms to hover, or I should say reach actively down, kind of past the hips as if I'm reaching to the edge of the mat, open across the chest. Now, again, listen to your body. This may be a great place to land, to work on the abdominals and that support with both legs off the mat. If you choose from here to up the ante or to increase the challenge a little bit, maybe try taking your right leg, reach it out, or I should say the leg closest to the camera. Try to keep it in line with the other foot. Take 2 breaths here, trying to maintain the trunk. Bring this leg back in. Allow the other leg to stretch out. Try to keep the feet on the same plane. Arms reaching through the fingernails. Open across the chest. One more breath. And then bring that in. Place your hands on top of your shins. Let your lower legs just rest. And what I want you to do is to feel yourself pressing down a little bit into your thigh bones or into your legs, as if you're going to press the thighs down into the mat. And I'm just going to make small circles. We did this on the class posted earlier in the week, so definitely keep checking our Facebook feed, Young's Physical Therapy and Sports Performance. You can also find information for our classes and our YouTube or our content posted on YouTube on our Instagram bio, so just keep checking all these places. But we did these leg circles, thigh stirs in the class earlier in the week. We're just trying to get a nice, kind of like we're lubricating the hip. We're just getting a nice gentle circle. I'm going in opposite directions of one another as far as the legs. And you just want to make sure you go both directions, maybe about 6 to 8 in each direction. Now I believe last but not least on our back, we're going to bring those legs back to 90-90 and maybe just go for a little bit of a march. Breathing naturally. This is very much like a running pattern or a walking pattern. Can we keep the trunk stable while we're moving again freely in the hips? Now from here, let's go 4, 3, 2, and 1. Float both feet down, and let's go ahead and roll over, maybe facing one another, closest to the camera or the monitor that you're watching. Let's go ahead and bend our bottom knee. And what I'll ask of you, resting your head on your bottom arm, we want to try to create still a good long line through the body. So it's like my head, my rib cage, my pelvis are all up against a wall. And now from here, my top leg, I'm gonna ask you to lift to about hip level. And today what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue that kind of circular pattern or stirring in the hip joint, getting some good range of motion. We're gonna make circles. I'm gonna ask you for 10 circles one direction. 9, 8, can you do this while maintaining the rest of the body pretty still? Let's go with maybe about 4, 3, 2, now reverse your circles. 10, 9, I'm gonna relax my foot. 8, 7, 6, moving through the range of motion of the hip. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and float the leg down. What I'll ask of you here, knees bent. You're gonna use your top hand. You're gonna push yourself up using the other arm as well. That's a great way to transition, especially if we are dealing with some back issues. Use the arms a little bit more rather than trying to hoist up with the spine. So from here, I'm gonna ask you to switch your head and your feet. So what we've done is we've just gone to the other side. We're gonna set ourselves up in a nice long or lengthened, elongated posture. I'm gonna ask you to bend your bottom leg, top leg at hip level. Both of my hip bones and my shoulders are facing straight ahead. I'm gonna make 10 circles one direction, stirring within that hip joint. Here's 5, here's 4, here's 3, here's 2, here's 1. Reverse those circles. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. From here, bend that knee. I'm gonna ask you just for practice again, use that top arm. Push yourself up to a sitting position. Let's go ahead now and move on to our stomach. We did some of this work again with our earlier posting in the week, but I want to add a little bit of a strengthening component to the motion and mobility of the spine. So our first exercise, hands stacked up underneath the forehead, glued together, but we're going to reach wide through the elbows to open across the chest and the upper back. I'm going to float my head down, forehead resting on the hands. Press down through the forearms, and then float the head and the neck off the hands. Feel your pubic bone on the mat, feel your rib cage on the mat. Feel as if I could walk my hands the length of the back of your neck. Now, unglue the hands. Take your top hand, lift the entire top arm up to meet the forehead. Rest it back down. Nice and open and broad across the upper back. Lift the top arm and lower. 2 more. Lift the top arm and lower once more. Lift the top arm and lower. Rest the neck and the head. Switch your hands. First, elbows reach wide. Press down through the forearms. Lift the head and the neck from the hands. Feel your pubic bone on the mat, feel the rib cage, neck is long. Top arm floats off and then back down. 3 more. Top arm lifts and lowers. Maintain the height of the neck and the head. Try to maintain pelvis, groin area, pubic bone resting on the mat rather than tipping to one side. And rest the neck and the head. We're going to come to hands at a goalpost position. From here, I'm pressing my elbows, or I should say I'm reaching my elbows out wide. I'm pressing my forearms and my elbows lightly into the mat, and I'm floating the head, the neck, the collarbones off the mat. Long neck, no tension behind the jaw. I'm going to float my arm that's closest to the camera off the floor, and then the opposite leg. But again, can you still feel the lower ribs, the pubic bone resting on the mat. Lower back down. Let's try that one more time. Opposite arm, opposite leg. Lower down and float the upper body down. Elbows reach wide. We're getting ready for the other side. Press down through the elbows. Float the head, the neck, the collarbones off the mat. Float the arm furthest away from the camera, off the floor. Opposite leg floats off. Can you still feel the ribs, or I should say the lower ribs, the pubic bone on the mat, and lower back down. One more. Arm, opposite leg, and lower back down. Rest the upper body down. Now, bring the hands underneath. I should say underneath the shoulders or the forearms. You're going to be strong through the arms and push up to hands and knees. So, it is good to have some weight bearing through the wrists as women or as those with osteoporosis, osteopenia. It is good to have some weight bearing through the wrists to avoid potential fracture in the wrists, and just to strengthen. If this is uncomfortable on your wrist, definitely feel free to go to fists or even roll up your mat a little bit for some padding. But if you can tolerate it, let's spend a little time here. So what I'll ask of you is hands are set up underneath the shoulders. Knees are set up underneath the hip joints. Think of, again, the pelvis, the rib cage, the head being in one long, solid line. From here, we're going to inhale, rocking back. Notice that my pelvis, I'm trying to move back towards the wall behind me versus towards my heels. I do have my toes tucked under for a little ankle range of motion and even maybe a little foot stretch. Exhale, rock forward. You may go just a little bit beyond the wrist crease. Inhale, rocking back. Try to maintain the line of your spine. Exhale, rocking forward. Chest nice and broad, upper back nice and broad, nice and strong through the shoulders. I'm pushing away from the mat rather than letting gravity push me down. We'll go for two more. Inhale, pressing back. Exhale, forward. One more. Inhale, rocking back. Exhale, rocking forward. Now, I'm going to prompt you through a transition up to standing if it is appropriate for you. Please be safe. This may be best practiced against or close to a wall or something that you can hold on to, like maybe a coffee table or a couch that's not going to move. If you notice, I am sitting back on my heels a little bit. Pretty intense stretch for the feet, but very good for mobility. I'm going to ask you to lift through the hips. From here, we're going to try to take one leg straight ahead. You're going to push through the back leg to come up to standing. Now, I'm going to make a turn on my mat, and the leg that I advanced forward coming up, I'm going to take that same leg and I'm going to step it forward. I'm going to bend that back knee and come all the way down. I'm going to bring that other leg back, maybe come to sit on my heels. Lift the hips. Now the other leg is going to come forward. I'm going to push off of the back leg to come up to standing. Just a nice little way to practice some transitions getting up and down from the floor. So from here, to finish up with a little bit of standing work, I'm going to ask you to set up just about hip width or kind of the distance apart in the feet of kind of the bottom of your pelvis or your seat bones. It's literally just about maybe a fist to 2 fist distance. From here, I'm going to place my hands kind of on the front of my, what you might consider your hip joint or kind of the groin area. And the reason that I want my hands here is we're going to practice a hip hinge or a creasing at the hip. I'm going to ask you for a small squat and back up. I'm going to show that from a side vantage point. The goal here is that I've got a good deep hip crease. It's like my hands are pushing back towards the wall behind me as I come into my squat and then come back up. Can I maintain the head, the ribs, the pelvis in line as I work through my squat? This is extremely important, this hip hinge movement, for activities such as brushing my teeth, washing my face, making the bed, reaching down to get groceries, hopefully avoiding any potential fracture of the spine. Let's go for maybe about 3 more. 3 and 2 and 1. Feel the weight grounded through your feet. The knees don't have to be stick straight, but they just have a good, strong, kind of buoyant quality to them. We try to avoid gripping around our hips or our tail. We just want to feel that we're solidly planted on our pelvis. A nice energetic spine. Again, we think of the blocks of our head, our ribs, and our pelvis being in a nice solid structure. Nice and open across the chest and the upper back. Our arms should just hang from our skeleton or our body. We'll take a few breaths to finish up and reap the benefits of the class we've just done. We inhale. We exhale. One more breath. Thank you for joining us today. Again, my name is Lauren Syed. I work with Young's Physical Therapy and Sports Performance. This class has been a Pilates for bone and joint health. It's very appropriate for participants and individuals with spinal issues, osteoporosis, osteopenia, or even past joint replacements. Thank you.